Alright, shalom, shalom. Before I begin this video, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah Quadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well, and a sincere salutations to you, hopeful elect Akim, who out there pushing this word of sincerity and in faith. Alright? So this is another installment of News and Prophecy. So I'm going to just go ahead and play this. And the spirit has me to stop and go into a precept or whatever the case is, then that's what it's going to be. So this is November the 22nd.
Colorado nightclub sharing his story with us. Our new interview with the Army veteran hailed as a lifesaver for jumping into action when the shooter opened fire inside an LGBTQ club. How he subdued the gunman with the help of other club goers. His daughter's boyfriend among the 5 dead. The suspect now out of the hospital when he will face a judge. Also tonight, the deadly crash, a news chopper going down near a highway in North Carolina. The members of the news team who were on board. The Supreme Court clearing the way for House Democrats to get Donald Trump's taxes with just weeks until the GOP takes control. Dr. Anthony Fauci's final White House briefing, his parting message to Americans amid fears of a triple-demic this winter. It's one of the busiest travel days of the year, why safety experts warn this could be the deadliest Thanksgiving in 15 years. Caught on camera, the military plane hitting a flock of birds upon takeoff with a high-ranking general on board. And behind the scenes of this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with the man who built some of the most memorable floats of the last 5 decades.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. How many times have we heard it said after a mass shooting, it could have been worse? Acts of heroism or simply chance disrupting an evil chain of events, sparing lives. Well, tonight from Colorado Springs, we're hearing directly from the man whose single-minded focus stopped the killing inside Club Q on Saturday night. Army combat veteran Richard Fierro sitting down with NBC News today to describe the instinct to protect his family that drove him to risk his life by taking down and helping to disable the shooter. With 5 already dead or dying and more than 3 times that many wounded, authorities say his actions almost certainly stopped further bloodshed within a narrow window between when the shooting started and police arrived. Tonight, so many families and victims speaking out about loss and survival. Steve Patterson is in Colorado Springs with much more.
Maybe the only person unwilling to call Richard Fierro a hero is Richard Fierro.
I didn't do anything special. I took care of my kid, took care of my wife, took care of my family, took care of my friends.
Richard went to Club Q that fateful Saturday night with his wife Jessica, their daughter Cassie, and Cassie's boyfriend Raymond Green Vance.
We were having a great time.
No, wait a fucking minute. What is y'all doing out there, man? First off, and see, that's Jake. Jake just do shit like that. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing out there? Okay?
Then, shortly before midnight, the chaos began. As the crowd scattered from the shooter, Richard ran right for him.
Your first instinct as you see him is to rush him, is to take him down.
My daughter and my whole family was in there. Who's not going to go save them? Or do what they can to stop somebody from hurting them?
Having served 15 years in the Army, Richard says instinct took over. He slammed him to the ground.
I hit him everywhere I could find. He had armor on. He may have had a helmet. He may not have had a helmet. I don't know. I know I found a little wet, bloody spot, and I just kept going.
If Richard hadn't acted, authorities say the loss of life would have been even more catastrophic.
He was a hero way before this in my eyes. There could have been so many more bodies there. There could have been so many more injuries. And there wasn't.
5 people died that night, including Richard's daughter's boyfriend, Raymond.
She did that scream, that guttural scream, and when she found out about Raymond, it was that guttural scream. And it was the worst thing I ever heard. This is my kid.
Raymond's mother, Adriana, is heartbroken.
He was very kind, and I used to call him my gentle giant.
Is it settled in?
No, I still think he's gonna walk in through the door.
Why did that bullet went to him? That's one of the biggest questions.
Raymond's family describing the 22-year-old as...
Wait, okay. Okay, let's answer her question real quick. Alright, so this is Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So, woe means death or destruction, right? And what did they call good that was evil? Alright, the spot that they was at, right? The spot that they was at is full of wickedness, weirdo. And once again, what were they doing out there? Right? Just out there, and best believe you already know whose idea it was to go out there. It was the daughter's idea. Right? It was the daughter's idea.
the life of every room he walked into, and the pain of reckoning with his death.
I work in a restaurant, and one of the hostess came and says, your husband called, and he said, it's an emergency. I said, oh my God, what happened? So I called him, and he told me that Raymond was dead.
Tonight, immense grief and heartbreak that will last a lifetime.
Walking past other bodies that were laying there, those are things you won't be able to unsee. There's smells you won't be able to unsmell. And it was just horrifying.
Steve joins us now from Colorado Springs. Heartbreaking recollections of that day, Steve. Have investigators shared any more about the suspect tonight?
Yeah, Lester, we know that 22-year-old suspect was released from the hospital today and transferred to a county jail where he's expected to make his first court appearance via video tomorrow, followed by multiple murder and possible hate crime charges as early as next week. Lester?
Steve Patterson tonight, thank you. And breaking this evening, the crash of a news helicopter in Charlotte, North Carolina, killing the pilot and a meteorologist. Blaine Alexander has more on the tragic event.
Just steps away from the busy I-77 in Charlotte, this is the tragic scene of a news chopper crash. It happened just after noon, killing both people on board.
He apparently knew he was in trouble, and he circled looking for a place to put that down. And on the second circle, I don't think he had any choice. It was going down.
Inside, two beloved members of the WBTV news team, Sky 3 pilot Chip Tagg, who had been flying for more than 20 years, and meteorologist Jason Meyer.
What we're looking at is some of the tornado damage.
The father of four grew up in Charlotte and married his childhood friend. In a statement, the station writes in part, the WBTV family is grieving a terrible loss. Now, the community is praising the pilot's action, avoiding the highway, apparently doing all he could to save lives in his final moments.
It seems the pilot that was operating the aircraft made some diversionary moves to avoid hitting traffic. If that is truly the case, then that pilot is a hero in my eyes.
Tonight, the NTSB and FAA are investigating what caused this crash, bringing two lives to a tragic end. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
A legal defeat tonight for former President Donald Trump. The Supreme Court clearing the way for the IRS to hand over his tax returns to the House Ways and Means Committee. Democrats say they want to assess whether the IRS is properly auditing presidential returns. Mr. Trump has called it politically motivated. An urgent new plea today from Dr. Anthony Fauci for Americans to get their flu shots and those updated COVID boosters. It comes as tens of millions are traveling for the holiday at risk for COVID, RSV, and the flu. Here's Stephanie Gosk.
The strain of 3 active viruses is being felt in nearly every region of the country. In Kentucky, 30 school districts have had to close at least one school this month because too many students were sick. Seattle Children's Hospital tells NBC News it's been up to 300% capacity, driven mostly by RSV. It's a similar story in Minnesota.
There have been days when we've had 30 to 40 children waiting in our emergency departments, waiting for an inpatient bed.
And in New York.
This is a unique situation where we have COVID, RSV, and the flu circulating and making folks sick.
COVID has kind of leveled off, but yet so many people are sick.
Yeah. And I think we are seeing greater numbers than we have before.
Compounding the problem is a shortage of amoxicillin. The popular antibiotic is used to treat bacterial infections, often triggered by respiratory viruses. It's also the go-to medication for infections in children, like strep. Pharmacies in Missouri are closely managing supplies.
Lots of drugs have been on shortage and back order.
Health officials are urging Americans to get their flu and COVID shots.
It's certainly not too late. People go out and get vaccinated this week. They will have a lot of protection during December, January, February onwards, the time that we socialize the most.
How are yours, Dr. Fauci?
Dr. Anthony Fauci appearing in his final White House briefing, capping a 50-year career.
Every day for all of those years, I've given it everything that I have, and I've never left anything on the field.
One last chance to advise the country as a trio of viruses threaten to upend the holidays. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
55 million Americans are expected to travel for Thanksgiving. So far, it's been pretty smooth sailing, but experts warn of a potentially deadly week of travel. Tom Costello is watching it all for us.
This night before the week's busiest travel day, airports and roads are filling up. John Hartzell spending about $200 on gas over a 2-day, 900-mile drive with his dog Millie from Atlanta to Milwaukee for Thanksgiving with his parents.
Where I was born, be sleeping in my childhood bed, so it's always nice to go back to.
The National Safety Council warns this could be the deadliest Thanksgiving since 2007, with a potential for nearly 520 people to die in traffic accidents. Distracted and impaired driving, the major factors. Outside of Denver, South Metro Fire Rescue Station 44 covers a busy stretch of I-25 where rollovers are common.
And those that are not seatbelted a lot of times aren't even in the vehicle when we show up on scene because they've been ejected out of a window or the windshield.
Traffic safety pros with a reminder, buckle up, drive sober, and put away the phone. Meanwhile, blue skies are helping the airlines avoid a repeat of the summer travel trouble.
Still looking at a clean OIS? Going straight to the terminal timeline?
At the FAA Command Center, they track every plane flying in U.S. airspace. Thanksgiving really isn't the busiest air travel time of the year. The busiest day this year was back in May, 51,000 flights. The challenge of Thanksgiving is opening up military airspace because the flights are full and they want people to get to their destinations and back home again. That military airspace now open off the East Coast.
That makes more airspace available for more airplanes to fly.
The pace only picks up tomorrow. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
Now to an NBC News exclusive look inside a crowded refugee camp in Syria that may be turning into a dangerous breeding ground for ISIS terrorists. Courtney Cubey reports.
The white tents appear out of the Syrian desert like an oasis. But up close, we find something very different. A refugee camp on the verge of a humanitarian crisis, and tonight, a growing security threat. Al-Hol is run by the autonomous government in northeast Syria. When ISIS collapsed, thousands of family members of captured or killed ISIS fighters fled here. Now, they enforce the terror group's brutal rules inside its walls. Last week, 2 young girls found beheaded. The camp administrator with an alarming warning telling us life is not safe here. ISIS is here, she says, and these fighters are armed.
They can smuggle things in using water deliveries, using food deliveries.
There's more than 50,000 residents here at Al-Hol. The vast majority are women and kids. And with overcrowding, poor sanitation, and at times shortages of food and water, this population is extremely vulnerable to violent extremism from groups like ISIS. Like Cubs of the Caliphate, an army of young boys loyal to the terror group here in the camp. We visited Al-Hol with Major General Matt McFarland.
ISIS can plant a seed in one of those areas based on the conditions and try and grow and foment its radical ideology.
The only solution, he says, move people out. Most residents are Iraqi or Syrian, but the foreign annex has about 8,000 people from 50 different nations, and many of those countries don't want their citizens back, worried they'll spread extremism.
This is a strategic problem that requires an international solution.
Tonight, General McFarland tells us if these 50 countries won't take their citizens back, they need to provide funding to improve the rough camp conditions that ISIS is using as a breeding ground. Lester?
Shining an important light there. All right, Courtney, thank you. In 60 seconds, the holiday shopping rush, our Black Friday and Cyber Monday, really the best times to get the best deals? We'll look beyond the hype at how and when you can save the most in our series, Race to Deliver. The countdown is on to one of the biggest shopping days on the calendar, but this year, with retailers offering sales months earlier, does Black Friday really offer the same big savings it used to? Maggie Vespa with the Race to Deliver.
With America's banner day of holiday deals on deck and promises of staggering savings on display, tonight shoppers are already looking beyond the Thanksgiving feast to Black Friday.
Looks like there are going to be some good sales, and we're excited about that.
And in some cases, beyond.
I usually find the sales just keep going on through the rest of the season.
Indeed, amid sky-high inflation, discounts have been mounting for months. So, with the infamous Christmas creep not just applying to early decorations, but deals too, it begs a question. Are Black Friday, and even Cyber Monday for that matter, as big of a deal this year?
Well, they still are a really big deal.
In fact, the National Retail Federation estimating more than 166 million Americans plan to shop between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday, the group's highest estimate ever, up nearly 8 million from last year. Given inflation's fluctuating effect on prices, experts recommend shoppers do their research.
It's harder to know if you are getting a good deal, but the deals are still out there. For electronics, the lowest prices are on Black Friday. With clothing, especially winter clothing, those prices will drop in January. So you really ideally want to wait if you can.
And if you have your eye on something specific, like this year's hottest toy, consider buying early in case stores run out. Setting up Santa for a successful holiday, too. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Chicago.
Coming up, what can happen when your house is owned by a corporation? Our investigation next. A scary moment caught on camera in Chicago. A military passenger plane striking a flock of birds soon after takeoff from Midway Airport. On board, General Daniel Hokanson, the chief of the National Guard. The plane was forced to turn back to the airport. No injuries were reported. Now to our NBC News investigation into a growing trend in the volatile housing market that some call predatory. Corporate investors buying up homes, driving up rents, and threatening evictions. Gabe Gutierrez now on one company under scrutiny in Ohio.
Janika Allen is a single mom who cares for Alzheimer's patients at a nursing home. Recently, she had reason to worry she'd be out of her home and out on the street.
Your rent went up.
Rent went up.
And you had no idea?
Had no idea.
How'd you find out?
I got an eviction notice.
Allen says her landlord, Vinebrook Homes, raised her rent and charged a new fee without her knowledge. She then struggled to communicate with the company through an automated online portal. Then came the order to get out.
How stunning was it to see that eviction notice?
It was very, very stunning. It actually just crushed because I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on?
Vinebrook owns more than 24,000 single-family homes in mostly lower-income areas across 18 states. It's among the largest corporate landlords in the U.S. and owns more than 6,000 homes in Southwest Ohio alone.
Here in the Cincinnati area, real estate is particularly attractive to corporate investors because of low prices and laws that favor landlords.
Vinebrook is one of the growing number of institutional investors buying up single-family homes that they then turn into rentals.
How many homes does Vinebrook own in this neighborhood?
220.
220?
Yes.
Just in this one neighborhood?
Yes.
Laura Brunner runs the Port of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority and says Vinebrook has raised rents, been quick to evict, and slow to repair homes.
It's actually brilliant. You know, they found a really, really good way to make a lot of money.
Is it right?
I don't think it's right. I think it's predatory.
In July of 2021, the city of Cincinnati sued Vinebrook to recover more than $600,000 in unpaid water bills and fines. Vinebrook would not comment on the record about the suit, but settled it a month later, paying almost all what the city said was owed.
How crushing is this for lower-income residents?
It's huge.
Jordan Kotler is a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society of Greater Cincinnati, which has about 25 open cases against Vinebrook.
The model of automating the property management system doesn't work.
Vinebrook declined to answer specific questions about renter disputes, but the company provided a written statement about its mission to provide safe, functional, and clean rental homes that are affordable to a range of budgets. Vinebrook pointed out that 4 out of 5 of its residents renew their leases each year.
I feel like an elephant is on top of my chest.
This June, Janika Allen reached a settlement with Vinebrook to rescind both the rent increase and the eviction notice. But the next month, even though she was sending in her rent, she was threatened with eviction again.
I believe this company has got away with a lot because people don't want to share their story.
After NBC News contacted Vinebrook, her case was quickly resolved. But at this Cincinnati courthouse, 20 other tenants are still fighting against their corporate landlord. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Cincinnati.
Up next for us tonight, we go inside the...
It's getting hard out here. It's getting hard out here, man. All right, you're only gonna hear things like that increasing. Okay? That's all, these things are ramping up. These things are gonna continue to get worse.
Workshop of a Thanksgiving parade legend who is inspiring America. Finally, he's been at it for almost half a century, the builder behind the scenes of the oldest and biggest Thanksgiving parade. Here's Joe Fryer.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is a one-day event, but a year-round project. One of the float builders has racked up more years than anyone else.
I've done 46. This will be my 47.
47?
Yeah.
What do you think when you hear that number?
Wow. Shivers me timbers, if you want to know the truth.
John Chaney is such an institution at the Macy's Parade Studio in New Jersey. Part of the warehouse is known as Chaney's Corner.
I love how everything on this is covered in a little bit of dust.
Yeah.
The well-worn legacy of a carpenter who's about to turn 76.
Aren't you supposed to be retired by now?
That's what people say.
And then what do you say?
I say maybe next year.
His past creations are proudly on display inside the studio, including this massive Victrola seen on Herald Square during last year's parade.
Do you look at it for inspiration now?
Sometimes I go, wow, you made that, so you're going to be able to make the next thing good.
That next thing is a towering lighthouse on a float for the new movie Slumberland.
He understands the big picture, but he also understands the details and cares about every single detail.
More than 30 skilled artists work on the parade studio team, but only Chaney has been doing this for nearly half a century.
He is a legend, an encyclopedia of knowledge. One of the hardest working men I ever met.
A master craftsman who helps keep this beloved Thanksgiving tradition afloat. Joe Fryer, NBC News, Moonachie, New Jersey.
And we'll see his work in the parade Thursday on NBC. That's Nightly News.
Just more, just more bullshit. This place is through. This place is absolutely through, man. We are in the times now that they really gotta ramp up, all the witchcrafts and the wine, right? They really, let me see if I can find that. Slovakia. I can't remember exactly where it is. Okay, Habakkuk 2:15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. So woe to y'all. Look at what they're trying to push. Floats and happiness and shit. Look at all the money that's going towards that, and people don't got food to eat. Right? And best believe that best believe that sleazy ass E, is who's putting up the money for these parades, man. Right? More folly, more wickedness, so that what people can go out, people can okay, folly, bullshit, so that they can do what? Buy more things. They go out there, you go to a parade, what you gonna do? You gonna buy more. More. See, the merchants of the earth want you to buy and buy and buy and buy and do what? Go into more debt. Laden yourself with more thick clay, man. More debt. You know? And after this, and after you drink all this wine, you know, and then the new year comes, you drink more wine and more and more and more. So shit, later on in the year, you financially hurting. Happens every year. Yet, this what the people want. Alright, so best believe that these elite, this what they're going to continue to give you. They're going to continue to do that. Right? Time and time again, that's what they're going to continue to do. Because that's what they've been set up to do. Well, this is actually a really good point. Mark 2:19, it says, And Yahushua said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber fast, while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. No man also seweth a piece of new cloth on an old garment, else the new piece that filleth it up taketh away from the old, and the rent is made worse. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine doth burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled, and the bottles will be marred. But new wine must be put into new bottles. And that's why the Lord is taking the young men, right? He's taking the young men, and he's revealing, right, the truth and the secrets that Yahweh Shem Yahushai has set up. He's showing it to men in their youth. Right? Now, that don't mean that older men can't come into the truth, but for the most part, you come into the truth when you're younger. Right? You're coming into the truth. Because, see, an older Jake, that's all he knows is parades and the bullshit of this place. We forget that that, we're stuck here because we don't, buy shit for Christmas and do this and that. We don't do that. Right? So we're living our life a certain way, right? And the people, they really truly do believe that this is the way. This is how things are supposed to be, But I was looking. This is a good one too. Mark 7:6. He answered and said unto them, Well hath Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Right? So you speaking about the Lord. Oh yeah, the Lord this, the Lord that. Yeah, look at you. You fighting each other to get a toaster. And the rest of it. Verse 7, Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Right? It's better to give than to receive. You talking about gifts. Just and who came up with that you supposed to wrap stuff up in some paper. It's just going off, man. For laying aside the commandment of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, you hold the tradition of men. All right, these different traditions such as Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, all that, as the washing of pots and cups and many other such like things ye do. Look at that, man. And he said unto them, Full well you reject the commandment of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, you may keep your own tradition. Yeah, so we have things that we're supposed to be set up to do. Right? We're not supposed to be out here doing all this extra stuff. Verse 10. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. So, by honoring the Heavenly Father, honoring our mother, right, which is wisdom. Okay, if you don't do that, then you're going to die to death. So all these people that are celebrating all this, you've got your warning, man. You got your warning from the Israelites, man. Everybody talking about the Israelites, man. So at this point, you just openly going against the Heavenly Father, man. And we tell Jake, man, don't be celebrating all this bullshit. But what does Jake do? What does Jake do? And another thing, you save money, right? I have no problem during Christmas time. I don't have no issues. I don't spend no money. I'm good. All right, the things that the Lord has set up, it's not grievous. It's kind of better. It is better, Salakia, for you to be in the truth than to be in the world, because I don't have to spend my money impressing these people and all this stuff. You do all these different things, and what? What does it do for you? It's for nothing. All right? It's for nothing, man. Verse 11, but ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is korban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free. Let me read that again. Mark 7 and 11. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is korban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free. And ye suffer him no more, and ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word Yahabashim of none effect through your tradition which ye have delivered, and many such like things ye do. So by you following basically the traditions of man and whatnot, you're not profiting anything. Right? It's only through, right, the Heavenly Father. It's only through the law, statutes, and commandments that the Heavenly Father has set up, right? And the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Only then are we going to be free, man. That's the gift. The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? That comes from following Yahweh Shem Yahushai. How are we supposed to follow him? The Lord has laws that are set up. Now, we aren't specifically saved by the law, right? But the law is set up for us, right? It's meant to beautify us, to beautify the meat, man. All right. Psalms 149 and verse 4. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. And the Heavenly Father's Son, right, is Yahushai. Okay. And it says in the scriptures that he comes in the volume of the book. Okay, so the words Yahweh Shem Yahushai, they are life, man. They are salvation. So the teachings that come from men, right, Israelite men, right, reading this book, that's the precursor to the Lord coming back and actually saving us, right? And that's beautiful, man. So I've basically hit my point. I didn't find exactly what I was looking for. In Mark, I believe it was in Mark, but those were two actually very good points that lined up real well, man. So hey, the water Yahweh Shem Yahushai, sometimes the spirit just has you move to something, has you move to something else. It's not a big deal to beat yourself up about. You really have your mind set, set on something, and you just don't get there. And through the spirit, those were two really good precepts. And man, and on a side note, I don't know, man. Lester Holt, he gives me the heebie-jeebies, man. He might be a tear, man. You just look at him, man. I don't know. Something off about Lester, man. But that's neither here nor there. So, Lord's word is edifying. Barakathi Hawa by Hashem Yahushai by Hashem Harakah Kodash. Once again, double honors to the elder apostle Great Millstone. Rule well and teach well and taught me this truth. And sincere salutations to you hopeful elect Akim out there who are pushing this word in sincerity and in faith. May Yahweh Shem Yahushai by Hashem Harakah Kodash watch over you brothers, man. You brothers continue to look at the news and look at prophecy. It's these things go hand in hand. Right? You look at the different news articles and things like that. And brothers post all kinds of articles, and things like that, man. You know, the different sites, and brothers know where to go to through the Spirit, you know, to get all the information that they need to. And even sites that you wouldn't think you could get good news from, you can get good news articles. You just got to search around. You know, some websites have, you know, specific articles that only they have, you know. And you can, you know, you can find them. You can, you know, search different websites, different apps, and gather that information. All right, until the next time, shalom.